Hi, are more people marrying for the wrong reasons? Here are my top 10 reasons not to get married. Number one, the most common, because of loneliness. Some people are afraid to be on their own. They'd rather get into unsuitable relationships rather than be alone. Oftentimes, you see this when a person's job requires them to work a lot and travel very often. Other times, it's because they lack friendships and other types of connections. And finally, when someone has self esteem issues, they still want that connection and that intimacy with someone, and they'd rather be with someone who is not a good match for them than no one at all. Number two, sex. Unfortunately, this is so common. This is such a common mistake that many people make, confusing sexual attraction for love. You're highly attracted to this person, and you think that by getting married, the sex will remain just as it is now. And somehow, the most important part of being married, which is the emotional connection, will just somehow be there. But guess what? You have it backwards. Now, I'm not saying sex is not important in a marriage. It most certainly is. But sex is not a foundation for a relationship. Sometimes sex is just great, but it's just sex. So make sure once it cools down, and it always does, what's left is something that will keep you connected and carry you through the rest of your lives together. Number three, financial reasons. Maybe you want money or status. Maybe you saw their car or house or bank account and are immediately attracted to this person because maybe you don't want to work. Maybe you just want to be taken care of. Now, please keep in mind that if something happens where your spouse decides they want the next newer model, or they realize that your financial needs are not what they signed up for, you might find yourself in a major financial bind by allowing yourself to become completely dependent on someone else. And by the way, this applies to both men and women. I have seen some pretty interesting situations where marriages take place to secure monetary needs on both sides. Number four, social pressures to fit in with friends. I see this all the time as well. Your friends are getting married. It's kind of like a big competition. Who does what next? You find that you're constantly comparing yourself with your peers, or you get caught up in the whole social media frenzy of wedding announcements and posts, and you think everybody's doing it. So now you want to go and join the marriage club. Number five, distraction from your problems. You have been running away from the past. Maybe something happened in your life that you want to distract yourself from. Maybe you think that being married and having a family will erase all of it. Maybe it's a way to avoid facing the issues you know you need to work on and resolve. Number six, you want a savior. Sometimes you are looking for a partner to come into your life and fix it, fix you, make you feel whole. You want them to give you false sense of security, even if it's temporary. And even though you know deep down inside that eventually reality will rear its ugly head, you are still willing to go through the whole marrying process. Number seven, family pressure. Your family is constantly nagging you and asking you, when are you going to get married? When are you going to give me some grandchildren? Of course, this can be much harder to ignore than social pressures for some, especially if you have grown up in a household or come from a culture where men and women get married and have kids by a certain age. Maybe you are really close to that age, or you have just gotten past that age now, so you want to rush and get married. Number eight, to have children. Maybe you feel like you have your house and career in place, and a child just seems to be that missing link from that pretty painting that you have envisioned. Or maybe you feel like your biological clock is ticking and you are feeling like the opportunity to have a child is close enough. Number nine, you are facing an ultimatum. Your partner is putting their foot down. They're telling you it's been long enough. I've waited long enough, and you fear losing them. Number 10, because you're pregnant. Maybe you believe that for several reasons it's better to have a child as a married couple. However, staying together or getting married for your child's sake alone, it's never a good reason, especially if your relationship is shaky to begin with. In fact, if you're staying in an unhealthy relationship where there's constant fighting or worse, it would actually cause your child much more harm. Opt out and work on developing a healthy co parenting relationship instead. Now, these are just some of the worst reasons people are getting married and probably why our divorce rate is so high. On the flip side, sometimes love alone is not enough to make a lifelong commitment. Life can be hard at times and present real challenges. You need someone who shares your core values and stays by your side, someone who can keep you anchored when times get tough. So, although you absolutely should marry someone because you're in love with them, marrying someone just for love alone, it's not always the wisest choice either. So maybe it's time to take a really long, hard look at the entire picture before you walk down that aisle. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching. As always, please make sure to look below for some free resources. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and also the notification bell so you know when I upload new videos, which is pretty much every Friday. So thank you so much, and I will see you next time. Take care.